What are we doing today? Well, we're going to be playing with a camera. This specifically is a pan tilt zoom color night vision camera. You can probably also immediately see why I've probably taken it off its mounting. It's got water inside it. Had a big storm recently and this one got full of water. Whereas all the other PTZ cameras I have that aren't color night vision haven't suffered this problem. So we're going to open this up and see how the water got in and why. Although I'm willing to suspect it's probably the microphone hole right on the top here. This one does have the ability to do object tracking, and it has a speaker in the back here and a whole host of other fancy features. But what I'm most interested in is how the water got in there. So to figure that out, I'm going to have to open it. And I think it's probably got something to do with this seal around here as well. So I was skeptical when I first bought this as to whether it would be waterproof or not. I guess we're going to find out. And I've got to work out how to get to all the screws. So let's find my screwdriver and a bit of blue tack, because this is pretty well impossible to sit still on the desk. Yeah, we'll crack it open, see what's inside. Right, well, having never opened one of these before, a little bit of uncharted territory, but given a little bit of experience with similar models, I can probably suggest that these 4 screws on the back are going to open the clamshell that is the pod here. I don't think I really need to attack any other parts of it. Let's see if we can get this open. There's this strange little hatch here with 2 screws on it as well that I think I'm going to remove just anyway, or just in case, because I'd rather it not be something that is crucial to me getting it apart. But that is in fairly firmly. And there's a rubber seal under it. Good. Alright. So let's skip through a bit, and we'll skip through to having this all opened up. Away, I've noticed something in here that is probably telltale. There's a moisture absorber packet in here. And let's pull this out. If it will come out. It's in fairly firmly, but this tells me that moisture ingress might have been a consideration. Definitely a moisture absorber pack, and it's relatively dry. It hasn't expanded much, but anyway, that's got that bit open. At least that should allow some moisture to evaporate. Nothing else, things should dry out, but we want to get the other half of this clamshell off so I can clean that lens. Alright, let's keep going. We need to adjust our camera angle slightly, and I should have done this before I started recording. But we have the back off here, and we have our speaker in situ, and that has been glued in nicely. It is kind of warm, it's been in the sun. Let's just pull our little connector off here, hopefully without breaking anything that is requiring a lot of force. I want to be gentle here, so this little budger might help remove it without trouble. It's one of those standard ones. I should be able to get this. Yep, there's a little bit of hot glue on it. Alright, so most of this assembly is actually fairly sensible. Let's have a look around here and have a look what's in the back here. So I'm seeing down in here, I'm seeing heatsink compound and some heat sinks behind the white LEDs that are in there. This is probably the autofocus sensor module, and we've got the rest of it is all sort of positioned fairly central in this frame, so water in here probably isn't going to be a huge issue. And I am going to shove that moisture absorber pack back in a bit, but maybe that's what that little door is for replacing the moisture absorbers. So yeah, now I think I've got a suggestion as to what might have caused this issue, and it might be all around here where they've sealed this up. It might not have been sealed in properly, and I think I can actually see some water or maybe hot glue underneath that, but I don't think that this little window is actually sealed in properly. So that wouldn't in theory be too hard to pop that out and reseal it, but when you're paying nearly $300 for a camera out of China, you do expect that they would go a little bit further than just plain old hot glue. Though to their credit, this worked very well until we had torrential storms. So yeah, it might have just been that microphone hole and some full force water. So trying to get to that is going to be fun. I am going to have to take that camera module out anyway, just to get to everything. So we might shove a screwdriver down here, see if we can pull that camera module out, which is fairly carefully calibrated. Now I should probably get a marker in there and mark where those screws are first. Alright, the two main mounting screws are off, and I think this should just lift away if I do it right. It feels like it has. That's the actual camera assembly that can come out, and it looks quite clean in there. And that, if I'm really careful, should pave the way to the glass. I'm just going to take this little connector off so that I can sit this down comfortably. If we can get our spudger in here, I know my hands are probably in the way, but I need to do that carefully. Right, I don't really need to disconnect anything else to get to what I need to. Yep, but we can see inside here right up to the lens now and in the rear surface. So we can get in there. So I'm going to clean that up and reassemble, and then maybe find another moisture absorber. One of the ways I'm going to clean this up is actually quite pretty much standard here. I'm going to use a Macca's napkin because I have a pile of them laying around and they are exceptionally absorbent. I'm pretty much just going to touch that onto the glass for the moment and soak up that moisture. Right. So that looks quite a bit better in there. I don't think I need to touch the surface of that lens. It looks alright. Now I'm having a close look, and yes, they've glued that glass in, but not perfectly. So there could be a bit of sealant. They have put some goo over the back of that, which is nice. I think I'm going to pull the microphone board out and have a look behind that, and think maybe that, and just check that that's not where the moisture came in. Although I think first I'm going to put this camera module back in. A lot of people do hate magnetic screwdrivers, but I magnetize one. I've got two sets, one I demagnetize and one I magnetize. This is the magnetized set because I can stick screws on the end. I really wish that Phillips head screws were like Robertson screws, because Robertson screws, the tolerance is just nice, that, or also known as square drive. The tolerance is just nice. You can have them stick on the end of a drive a bit like that very well. But let's get this in here. And this was done up quite firm, and I'm guessing that's part of the focusing requirements, is that it's in firmly. Now, crucially, so I don't end up with putting a camera up here that doesn't work, this multi-pin connector needs to pop back on here very carefully, and I need to make sure it's actually in the slot. It looks to be correct. Now there is a bit of dodginess going here. They've got a 2-pin connector shoved in halfway along like that. It's not the right size. That's like an aftermarket change, I think. Now I had a little moment when I noticed that these two connectors here are unpopulated, and I'd only removed one, but that has SPK on the board. That looks like that's the soundboard there. Now these are supposed to be able to record to a micro SD card, but I don't see an SD card slot like anywhere in the thing. There isn't the facility for it by the looks of things. I don't see one anyway, unless there's one sort of pre-installed somewhere, but I think that's unlikely with these things. So there is no SD, so that's actually not quite as advertised in that department. Anyway, let's open this up. I keep getting distracted in the background here because there is a wattle bird that keeps visiting my door. Oh, actually, hang on. That might have gone into that little slot there. That might be the thing that I missed. That would make sense. Alright, anyway, we still need to get this microphone board out. See if the microphone's not saturated. And these are not magnetic screws. So, where are we? Get a little angled tip tweezers, and they're not quite out yet. So we'll hold that with the tweezers. There we go, that's come out. This one needs to come up here as well. Oh no, that one is out as well. It's going to come out with the board just to be stubborn. I'll show you a trick on how to get those screws back in later. Let's have a look here. So, right now I can see the microphone there. And the microphone is sealed in with some black goo as well. And I can see 2 more heat sinks for the LEDs underneath this as well. So that's nice. And it is nice to know that there's a direct audio connection on this. I could, in theory, get that to directly drive an amplifier. Well, these are actually just magnetic enough that I can drop the screw in on this. So I don't need to use my blue tack trick to get, or my tape trick to get these in. But this thing is just like my apprentice when she doesn't want to do something. Jiggles and moves around all over the place and won't sit still. Alright. Put that board back in. That one back in. I know speaker goes in. This one, well, really the only logical place that could go in is there, but I think I should probably go back and check my video and just make sure that that's the right connector. Okay, so I went over my videos and had a look, and this is actually not connected to anything. We have a CDS plug here, which could be daylight sensor, and I've got something else on the back of the camera there. I'm not sure what's connected to what there. These could be just a common body that they have manufactured and they convert them for color night vision. So it could be that the daylight sensor is not necessary if it's not switching from infrared all the time. So that could explain why the daylight sensor is not connected. Interesting. So it's not me. I hadn't dislodged something that I shouldn't have. So yeah, I will shove that back through the hole, I think. But what I might do is find a more effective moisture absorber. I think that one actually doesn't feel like powder. That feels kind of gummed up. So maybe the moisture absorber is not doing its job anymore. It's just got to capacity. So let's plug our speaker back in here. If I can work out which way around that goes, I think that way. Although it is a speaker, being a coil type speaker, it doesn't really matter which way this is going around. It's still going to do its job either way, but it's getting everything into a position in which I can do that. There we go. Tuck this wire up out of the way a bit, and I want to make sure that doesn't get in the way of the seal. The walrus will not be happy if it's not a tight seal. Alright, see if we can get you back in there. I believe we can. So the front half of this is aluminium. The back half of this is plastic, as you can hear, and it's been very cleverly painted to look just like an aluminium finish, which I'm impressed about. So that's been good. I am curious to know how the water got in this thing. Unless it was just too tightly sealed, and with temperature change from going, well, it was a warm day and then it turned to be a very heavy, windy, stormy day very rapidly. So maybe the rapid temperature shift created some negative pressure in here. I'm not sure. I'm half tempted to make almost like a little one-way valve setup, or a pipe, like a breather pipe, on this little hatch at the bottom. That might help it ventilate without sucking moisture in. So, moisture absorber pack. You know what? I might stick this moisture absorber pack in a dry place for a while and let it dry out before I put the camera back in, or put it back in the camera. I'll put this little seal back in situ as well once we do that. Yeah, I think I'll dry this little dry pack out, and I don't know if I've got any others kicking around, but it should be all good. We'll be back in a few. I had a moment of impatience and irritation, so I think I'm just going to shove this pack straight back in here, and I'm going to buy a big box full of these things for future use. And there's so much room in the back of this that I think that if I do any future installs of these, or recommend them to people, I'll be recommending they get moisture absorber packs and upgrading them or replacing them when they first get them. But this little hatch in here is very handy. So that rubber seal is a bit of a challenge. Maybe this rubber seal is what's caused the problem. The big long screws, but this doesn't seem like the most optimistic way of installing a rubber seal. Anyway, at least I know moisture absorber packs are easy to replace on them. Just make sure that I have a clear lens now. That will be good. There's a bit of a sticky on the lens from the Blu-Tack, and that is definitely on the outside. So we're going to get some spray and wipe for that, and we'll clean that up. Stick this down, grab our spray and wipe, and let's sit for a bit and use a proper cotton workshop rag. Give this a clean up. Good stuff on the cameras, and spray and wipe leaves a bit of a residue that makes it harder for the spiders to get onto these things as well. So, alright, let's go and put it back in service. Alright, so the camera's working, although I do have it set up as D1 resolution and not 5 megapixel because I've got like 16 cameras and just not enough bandwidth to set everything up. But it does seem to work relatively well for what was set it up for, and the pan tilt's working. Everything seems to be functioning nicely. At least I can see out from it now, so that will be good. Alright, we'll swing that up. Keep an eye on the neighbour's yard and the other camera here that we need to reposition as well. This guy, I bumped it while I was up there. It's got a little vein in there with a it's either micro switch or I think it might be a magnetic vein sensor. Anyway, if you let that do a full 360 degrees, it recalibrates. So I'm about to go do that now. Right, so I'm doing this one-handed in 2 different positions, but we should be able to see this camera do a complete couple of 360s here, and we'll bring it back again around that way, and it has a stopper with a sensor also in the downward position, so we can go to that way and come up again, and from there we should be able to send it off to preset number 1. Right, and that should park where it should be mostly, which will be good. Alright, so we're pretty well happy for now. The camera's working pretty well, and I've got a few tools and a bit of Blu-Tack to pick up. But yeah, sometimes expensive cameras have very cheap to fix problems, and in this case it's just that cheap little moisture absorber. So I think next time I get a couple of these out of China, I'm going to order a big bag full of moisture absorbers and stick them in there. So, simple fix, quick video. I hope it's interesting. I've been putting a lot of Argo stuff up lately, so I've tried to sort of keep true to my roots a little bit with some electronic stuff, as a lot of you guys seem to enjoy that. So, anyway, I don't know if there's much else to add to this video. I expected it to be more difficult. Anyway, we'll see you all in the next one. Hope you had fun. See you later.